So, hi, who are you?
I'm Mark Hellinger. I'm the president and CEO of Xyleme.
Okay, well, let's talk about Xyleme, because people tell me it's great. I'm not even sure what it is. So, what is it? Why would I care? Maybe it would take 5 minutes and to sort of sort through that.
Sure. Thanks, Jay. Well, Xyleme's a learning content management system, as it would be known in the learning and development and training space. Fundamentally, what we are is a way to create content. It's all built on an XML platform, which we'll get into a little bit more, and then to assemble and publish it. And what makes Xyleme very unique is that it's designed to handle reusability. So I think when you look at sort of the history of reusable learning objects in this industry, we've figured out a technology that makes it easy for people to actually take little chunks of content and assemble them together across courses, across output formats, and rapidly produce learning materials. And that's what we do. So we're a content management system which is really designed for training and development type of processes.
Now, I've heard in the hallways over at the expo, we're dev learning. People come and say, "Oh boy, as if this is sort of a step up from the LCMSs, which came out in 2004, and we're sort of doing what an LMS should have done in the first place." So, what's new here?
Well, I think what's new is that we've gone through a cycle of moving from the classroom to moving into e-learning or web-based training, and now you've got this issue of what do you do about the mobile platform availability and informal and formal learning. And the real issue is, what's your strategy around your content? And what's new here is that our platform gives you the ability to separate the content from its presentation. So you can write good content for teaching and for the learner, and then you can allow the learner to experience it in many different ways. It really takes this idea of personal learning to a new level. So you're not fixing them into sort of go to the LMS and take the web course, or go to the classroom. There's lots of different options that come along with how you might learn.
Well, that is totally different from the first hardwired, here are 3 learning objects, but for you, we've glued them together irrevocably. And they will never change, even though the front one's out of date now.
Yeah, I think content and content strategies is a pretty complex area for a lot of learning organizations. I mean, I think people have been through sort of the LMS process. There's a lot of activity now in the talent management area. But I think if you're the CLO of an organization and you start to look at your ability to adapt to new types of learning formats and different generations of learning, it really comes around how do you develop content so that you can adapt and change and customize as often as you need it. And I think we enable that in a sort of a new and interesting way.
Yeah, I think Xyleme is having big customers. The LMS business is sort of parochial sometimes. A guy found a way to customize FileMaker and said, this is an LMS, and it's only available in my part of Oklahoma. But you're international, right? I mean, you go anywhere in the world, and right. It's large. Last night, when we were at the table having an informal get to know one another, you were mentioning how informal and social is now part of the learning deal. I mean, the first LCMSs, for those of you who aren't around, we were tracking courses, period, or pieces of courses. So what do you do in this area? How do you accommodate this?
Well, I think first of all, the platform, social learning platforms are, sort of becoming enterprise type of tools. It's not just segmented into the learning organization. People who are using social platforms, in fact, have a lot of success by weaving it into the fabric of the enterprise. So the question really is, how does training, number one, share content with the rest of the enterprise? And these platforms, whether you're talking about wikis or some of these new social tools, the Facebook for the corporation, if you will, type of tools, are giving you the ability to put information out very rapidly that doesn't need to go through the old course page by page sort of check the box type of thing. And it really comes back to an area either knowledge management or performance support. It's really taking your content and thinking about performance support in the same way that you at the same time that you're thinking about courses. And I think you know what I'm saying. I mean,
well, we see no difference at Internet Time Alliance between knowledge management, the old training function, social learning, informal learning, and let's throw in things like OD at the same time, because it's setting up the whole organization to learn together. So,
I think the other part of that is that now while user-generated content is a part of social media, I think learning organizations, particularly those that have a lot of compliance or regulatory issues, tend to be very, bifurcated about this, or to use that word there. They're very black and white about it. They either say we can't do it, or because
I call this bipolar thinking.
Bipolar thinking. So what we see is that the organizational change for content development is really going to be around changing the role of the instructional designer. Moving more from the traditional beginning to end build a course model, much more to, first of all, sort of content architects, if you will, the people who understand the content and the different things that are going to serve different purposes. And then, with social learning and social media tools, giving the ability to the community to get feedback on the content and to be able to take that feedback and really become sort of the coordinators of improving the content. So you really want to not have a model. You can't necessarily in a compliance or regulatory heavy place, go out and ask people how they would like to do things. But you can develop some content, push it out to the community, get feedback from the community, and now the instructional design group can rapidly take that feedback and turn that into another generation of content. Does that make sense, Jay?
It makes sense, and it resonates with something that happened to me in the hallway just before coming over here. These designers from IBM said, we want to buy copies of your book, and we're in quite a hurry. Could you tell me in 2 sentences what's really changing in instructional design? So, because they asked me, I said, well, of course, But the main thing was that, if you're still thinking programs, you're obsolete. Everybody has to be thinking platforms. They have to be thinking environments. They have to be thinking ecologies. And well, that's why I like your stuff, because you can wrap it around all kinds of things rather than just around the training nonsense. And well, now we're competing with an emergency wagon outside. It's been a pleasure talking. I think we've probably got enough. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye for now.